7 days. That's all I'm asking you to think about. Just 7 days. What if 1 week from today, you were no longer the same person people have underestimated for years? What if in the next 7 days, you became so disciplined, so focused, so mentally strong, that even the people closest to you would say, something changed? Because here is the truth. You do not need 1 year to change your life. Sometimes, one decision made today can create a completely different version of you by next week. Most people say they want to change. They say they want success, confidence, discipline, a better life, a stronger mind, a better future. But very few people ever stop and ask themselves the most important question before beginning any transformation. And that question is simple. Why? Why do you actually want to change? Why do you want to become better? Why do you want to become powerful? Because the truth is, if you do not understand the reason behind your actions, then your motivation will disappear the moment life becomes difficult. And life will become difficult. It always does. A lot of people wake up one morning feeling inspired. They watch a motivational video. They listen to successful people talk. They promise themselves that this time everything will be different. They say, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to become disciplined. I'm going to change my life. And maybe for 1 day, maybe for 2 days, they actually do it. They wake up early, they exercise, they focus, they feel excited. But then something happens. They get tired. They face discomfort. They lose energy. Suddenly that excitement disappears, and they return to their old habits. Why? Because they were running on emotion, not purpose. You see, emotions are temporary. Motivation is temporary. Feelings change every single day. Some mornings you feel strong. Some mornings you feel weak. Some days you feel ready to conquer the world. Other days you feel like giving up. If your entire future depends on how you feel, then your future is unstable. But when you know why you are doing something, everything changes. Purpose creates endurance. Purpose gives pain meaning. Purpose gives sacrifice value. Think about it. Imagine 2 people running the exact same race. Both are exhausted. Both are struggling. Both want to stop. But one person is running simply because someone told them it would be a good idea. The other person is running because their family depends on them winning. Who do you think will keep going when the pain becomes unbearable? The person with the stronger reason. The person with a purpose greater than their discomfort. And that is exactly how transformation works in life. You cannot build a new version of yourself if your reason is weak. If your reason for change is shallow, your effort will be shallow. If your reason is temporary, your commitment will be temporary. But when your reason comes from something deep inside you, when it connects to who you are and who you know you can become, then suddenly excuses begin to lose power over you. Maybe your reason is that you are tired of feeling average. Maybe you are tired of watching other people achieve things while you keep doubting yourself. Maybe you are tired of wasting your potential. Maybe deep inside you know that you were meant for more. But every single day, you are watching yourself live far below your own capabilities. That pain, that frustration, that feeling of knowing you are capable of more but refusing to act on it, that can become fuel. But only if you are honest with yourself. The problem is that many people chase goals that do not belong to them. They want success because society told them success looks attractive. They want money because they see other people showing luxury online. They want attention because they believe external approval will make them feel valuable. But goals built on other people's expectations are fragile. The moment the world stops watching, the effort disappears. Real transformation begins when you stop asking, "What should I do?" and begin asking, "Why does this matter to me? Why am I choosing this path? Why am I willing to suffer for this? Why am I refusing to stay the same?" Because powerful people do not move because the crowd pushes them. They move because something inside them refuses to accept mediocrity. And understand this clearly. Your excuses will always sound intelligent. Your mind will always create reasons to stay comfortable. It will say you are too tired, too busy, too stressed, too late, too inexperienced. But when your purpose becomes bigger than your excuses, excuses lose control. Suddenly waking up early is no longer painful because you know why you are doing it. Working hard no longer feels like punishment because your purpose makes the sacrifice worth it. Every great transformation in history began with a reason strong enough to survive struggle. People who changed the world did not act because they felt motivated every day. They acted because they believed deeply in something bigger than temporary comfort. The same is true for you. So before you try to become powerful, Before you try to become someone unrecognizable in 1 week, ask yourself one question and answer it honestly. Why must I change now? Not next month, not next year, right now. Because the day your reason becomes stronger than your excuses, that is the day your transformation truly begins. And from that moment forward, you are no longer chasing change. You are becoming the person you were always capable of becoming. There is a version of you that wants success, wants growth, wants confidence, wants power, wants respect, wants a completely different life. But standing directly between that future version of you and the life you say you want is another version of you. And that version is dangerous because it feels familiar. It is the version that has been built through years of comfort, excuses, hesitation, fear, bad habits, and repeated patterns that keep you exactly where you are. The hardest truth most people never accept is this. Your greatest obstacle is not your competition, not your circumstances, not bad luck, and not other people. The greatest obstacle is the person you have allowed yourself to become. Most people spend their entire lives believing success is about adding something new. They think they need more motivation, more knowledge, more opportunities, more resources, more confidence. But real transformation is often not about adding. It begins by removing. Before you build a stronger version of yourself, you have to destroy the habits, beliefs, and behaviors that belong to the old version of you. You cannot become powerful while protecting the mindset that keeps making you weak. Think about this carefully. Imagine trying to build a new house on land filled with broken concrete, damaged foundations, and structures ready to collapse. No matter how beautiful the new design is, no matter how expensive the materials are, nothing stable can be built until the old structure is torn down. And your mind works exactly the same way. You keep saying you want change, but at the same time, you are protecting the behaviors that keep producing the same life. You say you want success, but you continue delaying important work. You say you want discipline, but you keep listening to the voice inside your head that says, I'll start tomorrow. You say you want confidence, but every single day you repeat habits that slowly teach your brain that you cannot trust yourself. And this is where most people stay trapped. They keep dreaming about becoming a new person while remaining loyal to the old version of themselves. The old version of you has patterns. It knows exactly how to keep you comfortable. It tells you to sleep a little longer when you plan to wake up early. It convinces you that one missed workout does not matter. It tells you scrolling on your phone for hours is harmless. It whispers that you have plenty of time and there is no urgency. And because these decisions feel small, harmless, and temporary, you listen. But what people fail to understand is that identity is built through repetition. Every action you repeat is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you are strengthening the identity of someone who cannot be trusted. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you reinforce weakness. Every time you avoid difficult work, you train your mind to escape pressure instead of mastering it. Day after day, these small decisions quietly shape who you are. And then one day, people wonder why their life has not changed. The answer is simple. They never let the old version of themselves die. Transformation requires confrontation. You must become honest enough to identify the habits that are destroying your future. Maybe your weakness is procrastination. Maybe it is constant distraction. Maybe you seek approval from people who do not care about your growth. Maybe fear controls every major decision you make. Maybe you have accepted average standards for so long that comfort has become your addiction. But understand this. The person you want to become and the person you currently are cannot exist together forever. At some point, one version must win. Either your future self takes control, or your old habits continue controlling your life. Growth is painful because it feels like losing part of yourself. When you stop living according to old patterns, there is discomfort. Suddenly you cannot waste time the way you used to. Suddenly excuses no longer feel acceptable. Suddenly discipline becomes the standard. And your mind resists, because human beings naturally protect familiarity, even when familiarity is destroying them. This is why change feels uncomfortable. It is not because you are failing. It is because your old identity is fighting for survival. The lazy version of you wants to stay alive. The fearful version wants to stay safe. The distracted version wants immediate pleasure. The version that avoids responsibility wants comfort. And every day you have to decide whether you will keep feeding that version or starve it completely. Power begins the moment you stop negotiating with weakness. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. The strongest people in the world are not people who never feel temptation. They are people who stopped allowing their old identity to control their decisions. They understood that greatness requires sacrifice, and the first sacrifice is often the old self. So if you truly want to become unrecognizable in 1 week, understand this clearly. You do not need to defeat the world first. You need to defeat the version of yourself that has kept you small. Destroy the habits that made you weak. Walk away from behaviors that steal your future. Stop protecting the mindset that keeps holding you back. Because the moment the old version of you disappears, the powerful version finally has room to exist. One of the biggest lies people believe is that success begins with motivation. People are constantly waiting for the perfect feeling before they take action. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll work hard when I feel inspired. I'll change when I finally have enough motivation. And this way of thinking quietly destroys more dreams than failure ever could. Because motivation is temporary. It comes and goes without warning. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you feel tired, distracted, frustrated, and completely drained. If your actions depend on emotion, then your progress will always be inconsistent. And inconsistent effort creates an average life. Look closely at how most people operate. They wake up feeling excited after watching a motivational video or hearing someone speak about success. In that moment they feel powerful. They make promises to themselves. They decide this is the day everything changes. They create big plans. They feel energized. But then life begins happening. The alarm rings early in the morning and suddenly the excitement is gone. The workout feels difficult. The work feels boring. The task requires focus and patience. The same mind that felt inspired yesterday now starts negotiating. Maybe I should rest today. Maybe I'll do it later. Maybe tomorrow will be better. And little by little, action disappears. The problem is not that people lack ambition. The problem is that they trust feelings too much. Feelings are unreliable. They change constantly. You cannot build a powerful future on something as unstable as emotion. And this is where discipline becomes everything. Discipline means acting regardless of how you feel. It means keeping promises to yourself even when excitement disappears. It means understanding that the actions required for growth do not become important only when you feel motivated. They remain important every single day. Discipline teaches you to separate your emotions from your responsibilities. Think about the strongest people you admire. Athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, creators, people who achieve extraordinary things. Do you think they wake up every morning feeling excited and inspired? Of course not. They have days when they feel exhausted. They have moments of doubt. They experience frustration, disappointment, stress, and fear just like everyone else. The difference is simple. Average people stop when emotions change. Disciplined people continue. This is why discipline is more powerful than motivation. Motivation makes you start. Discipline makes you continue. And continuation is where transformation happens. Imagine someone deciding to exercise for the first time. The first day feels exciting. The second day feels manageable. But by the fourth or fifth day, soreness appears. Energy drops. Suddenly the excitement is gone. At this moment, motivation disappears, and a decision must be made. Either the person stops because they no longer feel excited, or they continue because they understand that progress does not care about emotion. The people who transform their lives are always the people who continue. Every time you force yourself to act despite discomfort, you strengthen something far more valuable than skill. You strengthen self-respect. You begin proving to yourself that your mind does not control you. Your feelings do not control you. Temporary discomfort does not control you. And when a person learns to control their own behavior independent of emotion, that person becomes dangerous in the best possible way. The world is filled with talented people who achieve nothing, because talent without discipline means wasted potential. Intelligence without discipline means unfinished work. Dreams without discipline remain fantasies. People often admire success without understanding the hidden force behind it. Success is rarely built on excitement. It is built on repeated actions performed consistently for long periods of time, especially on days when those actions feel difficult. And understand something important. Discipline is not punishment. People misunderstand discipline and think it means suffering endlessly. Discipline is freedom. It frees you from constantly being controlled by temporary emotions. It frees you from the habit of procrastination. It frees you from becoming someone who constantly breaks promises to themselves. The disciplined person is free because they know their future is no longer controlled by moods. When you begin depending on discipline instead of motivation, life changes dramatically. You stop asking yourself whether you feel like working. You simply work. You stop debating whether waking up early is difficult. You simply wake up. You stop waiting for confidence before taking action. You take action first, and confidence grows naturally afterward. Every day gives you a choice. You can follow emotion, or you can follow commitment. Emotion says rest because discomfort feels unpleasant. Commitment says continue because growth requires effort. Emotion says delay because tomorrow seems easier. Commitment says act now because delay creates weakness. Emotion focuses on temporary comfort. Discipline focuses on long-term transformation. And eventually something incredible happens. The habits that once felt difficult become automatic. The mind that once resisted effort begins accepting effort as normal. You become stronger, not because life became easier, but because discipline trained you to act beyond emotion. If you truly want power, understand this clearly. It's powerful people are not people who feel motivated every day. Powerful people are those who mastered themselves. They learned to move forward whether they felt inspired or exhausted. They understood that waiting for motivation is dangerous because motivation is temporary. So stop asking yourself whether you feel ready. Stop waiting for excitement to return. Stop believing success belongs to people who feel confident all the time. Because in the end, motivation might help you begin the journey. But discipline is what turns effort into transformation. And transformation is what creates the version of you that the world no longer recognizes. Most people think success is built entirely by willpower. They believe that if they just become mentally stronger, if they push harder, if they stay motivated enough, they can overcome any obstacle standing in their way. But what many people fail to understand is that long before your future is shaped by your ambition, it is quietly being shaped by your environment. The people around you, the habits you repeat daily, the conversations you listen to, the content you consume, the spaces you spend time in, and the routines you follow are influencing who you are becoming every single day, often without you even noticing it. Take a moment and think about your daily life. From the moment you wake up, your environment begins controlling your decisions. If the first thing beside your bed is your phone, you immediately begin feeding your mind distraction. You check notifications, social media, messages, endless content, and before the day has even properly started, your focus is already fractured. If your room is chaotic, your mind slowly absorbs that chaos. If the people around you constantly complain, criticize, gossip, or live without purpose, that energy slowly becomes part of your own thinking. Human beings naturally adapt to what surrounds them. Whether you realize it or not, you are constantly becoming like the environment you spend the most time in. This is why so many people struggle to change. They set ambitious goals, they promise themselves transformation, but then they return to the same environment that created their old habits in the first place. They want discipline while surrounding themselves with distraction. They want confidence while spending time with people who constantly spread negativity. They want growth while remaining comfortable in routines that reward laziness. And then they wonder why progress feels impossible. Imagine planting a healthy seed into poisoned soil. No matter how powerful the seed is, no matter how much potential it carries, if the environment is unhealthy, growth becomes difficult. The same is true for your life. You may have incredible talent, intelligence, ambition, and potential, but if your environment constantly feeds weakness, that potential slowly begins disappearing. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone around you wants to see you evolve. Sometimes the people closest to you feel comfortable with the old version of you. They know the version of you that stays small, predictable, and familiar. The moment you begin changing, the moment you become disciplined, focused, and serious about growth, some people feel uncomfortable. Suddenly they begin questioning your decisions. They laugh at your new habits. They encourage distractions. They invite you back into the patterns you are trying to escape. This happens because growth changes relationships. When you rise, people who remain comfortable often feel challenged by your discipline. And if you are not careful, their comfort can slowly pull you back down. Protecting your environment means becoming intentional about everything you allow into your life. It means asking difficult questions. Who am I spending my time with? What conversations am I listening to every day? What content am I consuming online? What habits dominate my routine? Is my environment pushing me toward growth or quietly keeping me trapped in the same patterns? Your phone alone can determine the direction of your future. Think about how many hours disappear every single week through endless scrolling, meaningless entertainment, and constant digital distraction. People often say they do not have enough time to improve themselves, but then spend hours every day consuming things that add no value to their growth. The problem is not lack of time. The problem is uncontrolled environment. An environment is not just physical surroundings. It is mental surroundings too. Every thought you repeat becomes part of your internal world. If you constantly tell yourself you are not capable enough, not talented enough, not strong enough, your mind begins accepting those beliefs as truth. Negative self-talk becomes an environment inside your own mind. You begin living inside limitations you created yourself. Powerful people understand that success is not only about controlling actions. It is about controlling exposure. They protect their focus with intensity. They become selective about relationships. They choose carefully what enters their mind because they understand that repeated exposure eventually shapes identity. If you spend every day around ambition, discipline, knowledge, and growth, eventually those qualities begin becoming normal to you. If you spend every day around excuses, laziness, negativity, and distraction, those qualities become normal too. Human beings adapt faster than they realize. This is why changing your environment often creates faster transformation than changing your goals. Remove distractions, and focus improves naturally. Spend time around disciplined people, and your standards begin rising. Replace harmful habits with productive routines, and momentum begins building. The truth is simple. You cannot expect extraordinary growth while remaining in environments designed for comfort. You cannot become powerful while constantly exposing yourself to weakness. Every single thing around you is shaping your future right now. Every conversation, every friendship, every habit, every routine, every digital distraction, every repeated thought. They are either building the strongest version of you or quietly destroying the future you say you want. So look carefully at the world around you. Ask yourself whether your environment is helping you become who you want to become. And if the answer is no, have the courage to change it. Because sometimes transformation does not begin by changing yourself first. Sometimes transformation begins by changing what surrounds you. And once your environment begins supporting your growth, the powerful version of you finally begins to emerge. One of the greatest dangers in life is comfort. Most people do not fail because they are incapable of success. They fail because they become too comfortable living below their true potential. Comfort feels harmless in the beginning. It feels safe, familiar, and easy. It tells you there is no reason to push harder today because you can always do it tomorrow. It convinces you that avoiding struggle is natural, that choosing the easy path is reasonable, and that small delays do not really matter. But what people rarely understand is that comfort, when chosen repeatedly, slowly becomes a prison. And by the time most people realize it, they have spent years building habits that keep them weak. Human beings naturally seek convenience. The mind is designed to conserve energy and avoid discomfort whenever possible. This instinct once helped human survival, but in modern life it often works against growth. The moment something feels difficult, the brain immediately searches for escape. When the alarm rings early in the morning, the mind says sleep a little longer. When exercise becomes painful, the mind says rest for today. When difficult work requires focus, the mind says check your phone first. When responsibility feels heavy, the mind begins creating excuses. It constantly pushes you toward what feels easy in the present, even if that comfort is quietly destroying your future. And this is why doing hard things every day matters so much. Hard things force you into direct conflict with weakness. They expose the habits that control you. They reveal how much power your mind has over your actions. Most importantly, difficult tasks train you to become comfortable with discomfort, and that ability changes everything. Think about what happens when you avoid difficult situations repeatedly. Every time you choose the easy option, you teach your brain an invisible lesson. You teach yourself that discomfort should be avoided. You begin building an identity around escape. Gradually, even small challenges begin feeling overwhelming because your mind has learned to run from resistance instead of confronting it. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine deliberately choosing something difficult every single day. Waking up earlier than you want, exercising when your body feels tired, studying longer than feels comfortable, working while others waste time, saying no to distractions that once controlled you. Every time you choose difficulty voluntarily, your brain receives a completely different message. It learns that discomfort is not dangerous. It begins understanding that struggle is temporary and survivable. And over time, something powerful begins happening. The tasks that once felt impossible start feeling normal. The challenges that once created fear begin feeling manageable. You begin developing resilience, the ability to continue functioning even when life becomes difficult. And resilience is one of the most valuable forms of power any human being can develop. Look at elite athletes, military training, successful entrepreneurs, high performers in every field. They all understand one principle that average people avoid. Growth never happens inside comfort. Muscles become stronger only when resistance tears them down and forces adaptation. The mind works the same way. Confidence is not built by avoiding difficulty. Confidence is built by repeatedly proving to yourself that you can survive hard things. This is why hardship creates strength. Not because suffering itself is valuable, but because overcoming suffering transforms identity. Every difficult challenge you conquer becomes evidence. Evidence that you are stronger than yesterday. Evidence that your mind does not control you. Evidence that your limits were never as fixed as you once believed. Most people wait until life forces difficulty upon them. They wait for failure, crisis, rejection, pressure, disappointment, or pain to make them stronger. But powerful people choose difficulty before life chooses it for them. They intentionally train themselves through uncomfortable action so that when real hardship arrives, they are already prepared. Think about the difference between a person who has spent years avoiding struggle and a person who has spent years embracing difficult challenges. When pressure arrives, who remains calm? Who adapts faster? Who continues moving forward while others collapse emotionally? The answer is obvious. The person who trained themselves through discomfort has already built internal strength, long before the challenge appeared. Doing hard things every day is not about punishment. It is about building capacity. It is about expanding your tolerance for discomfort so that ordinary challenges no longer intimidate you. It is about proving to yourself repeatedly that your future matters more than temporary pleasure. And understand something important. Hard things do not need to be dramatic. You do not need extreme suffering. Small daily difficulty creates extraordinary long-term change. Wake up when you promised yourself you would wake up. Finish work even when focus disappears. Exercise even when motivation is gone. Read instead of scrolling endlessly. Practice discipline when nobody is watching. Each difficult decision becomes a small victory, and those victories accumulate. Little by little, day after day, you begin becoming someone different. The person who once looked for shortcuts begins valuing effort. The person who once feared discomfort begins accepting struggle as part of growth. The person who once escaped responsibility begins confronting challenges directly. And eventually, people begin noticing something unusual. You have changed. You think differently. You act differently. Your standards are higher. Your discipline is stronger. Because every hard thing you conquered sent one message deep into your mind. I am stronger than my excuses. And once a person truly believes that, power stops being a dream. It becomes identity. Most people misunderstand transformation. They think change happens in one dramatic moment, one huge breakthrough, one life-changing opportunity, one sudden decision that instantly turns an ordinary person into someone powerful. They look at successful people and imagine that greatness appeared overnight. They see confidence, discipline, strength, and success, but they do not see the thousands of small decisions repeated quietly over time that created that result. The truth is far less exciting, but far more powerful. Real transformation does not happen because of one big action. It happens because of small actions, repeated consistently until they become part of who you are. This is why consistency is one of the most underestimated forms of power in the world. Anyone can perform well for one day. Anyone can feel motivated for one weekend. Anyone can make promises during moments of inspiration. But very few people continue showing up after the excitement disappears. Very few people repeat the same positive habits long enough for those habits to completely reshape their identity. And that is where true change begins. Imagine two people standing at the exact same starting point, Both have similar talent, similar opportunities, and similar goals. The first person works extremely hard for a few days, then stops when life becomes uncomfortable. The second person does small but disciplined actions every single day without interruption. At first, there seems to be very little difference. But after weeks, months, and years, the gap becomes enormous. The difference was never talent. It was consistency. The reason consistency creates such powerful change is because human identity is built through repetition. Every action you perform repeatedly teaches your brain something about who you are. If you repeatedly avoid challenges, you teach yourself weakness. If you repeatedly break promises to yourself, you teach yourself that your own words have no value. If you repeatedly choose distraction, you train yourself to live without focus. But if you repeatedly act with discipline, effort, and commitment, you slowly begin building the identity of someone powerful. And identity is everything. People often focus too much on goals while ignoring identity. They say they want success, confidence, strength, intelligence, better health, better relationships, and a better future. But goals alone do not transform people. Identity transforms people. The question is not simply what you want to achieve. The deeper question is who you are becoming through your repeated actions. This is why even 1 week can create extraordinary change if consistency is absolute. 7 days may sound small, but 7 days of complete discipline can begin changing how you see yourself. Imagine 7 days of waking up early every morning. 7 days without wasting hours on meaningless distractions. 7 days of exercise, focus, productive work, mental discipline, and keeping every promise you make to yourself. Something important begins happening during that process. Your mind starts trusting you. For many people, confidence is weak because they have spent years proving to themselves that they cannot follow through. They make promises and break them repeatedly. They set goals and abandon them quickly. Over time, the mind quietly learns that commitment means nothing. Self-trust disappears, but consistency rebuilds trust. Every time you follow through on a commitment, even a small one, you strengthen internal belief. You begin creating evidence that you are becoming someone reliable. And once self-trust begins growing, confidence follows naturally. People think confidence comes first. They believe they need confidence before taking action. In reality, confidence is created by repeated action. Every small promise you keep becomes proof that you are changing. This process may seem invisible at first. The first day feels difficult. The second day still feels uncomfortable. By the third or fourth day, resistance remains strong. But every repeated action is slowly rewriting your internal identity. You are no longer simply performing new habits. You are becoming someone different. And eventually other people notice too. The way you carry yourself changes. Your focus becomes stronger. Your decisions become sharper. Your standards become higher. You stop tolerating behaviors that once controlled your life. People begin sensing a shift, even if they cannot explain exactly what changed. That is what becoming unrecognizable truly means. It does not mean changing your appearance overnight. It means changing your identity so deeply that the person you used to be begins disappearing. The weak version disappears. The distracted version disappears. The version addicted to excuses disappears. And in its place stands someone stronger, calmer, more disciplined, more focused, and far more dangerous to every limitation that once controlled them. Remember this clearly. Greatness is rarely built through extraordinary moments. It is built through ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary consistency. One disciplined morning seems small. One focused work session seems small. One workout seems small. One difficult decision seems small. But repeated enough times, those small actions completely reconstruct who you are. And one day you look back and realize something powerful. You no longer think the same way. You no longer behave the same way. You no longer tolerate the same weaknesses. You have become different. This is how powerful people are created. Not through sudden miracles, not through luck, not through temporary motivation, but through consistency so relentless that eventually even the world begins noticing. And when people look at you after that transformation, they say the words that once felt impossible. You are not the same person anymore. Because through repeated action, discipline, and relentless consistency, you became someone completely unrecognizable.